Long ago is it since a picture like this would have been either abhorred or ridiculed. But today, the education of small children in methods of self-preservation is recognized as a humane proceeding.
U.S. citizen returning to the United States in the previous 14 days will be subject to up to 14 days of mandatory quarantine.
Quarantine Call-In Show with Laura Grant, Timothy Lovett, Kim DeShields, and our special guest tonight. Here's my Oprah voice, LaTice Mitchell! Woo!
You get a car, and you get a car.
I just noticed the other day that I was doing that. Like every time I introduce somebody, it becomes that. I'm like, gonna just own it and just say, give
I
praise
do
to
it
the
too.
Oprah.
When I host shows, I turn into Oprah. I really do. I do. I hold it out and everything. I'll be like, "Hey, your next comedian comes to say," and I hold their name out. It's just.
She's golden. I don't know. How are you? How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm so well. Yes, I'm so happy to be here. My schedule, I'm getting used to this schedule now, but I'm loving it. I'm off Sunday, Monday, Tuesdays. So I am like, yes, I can do something on a Sunday again.
LaTice tells me she's not really busy, but I have to say, I don't know anybody that, I mean, I just was watching In Living Color the other day and watching Hey Man. Do you remember that sketch where it was like 14 jobs or like you can't just have 4? And I'm like, I think LaTice maybe would have made them very happy. You seem to have a million jobs.
Oh my gosh.
All hours of the day and night.
Yeah, besides being a mom, I mean, that's the 24-hour job. And then, you know, on top of comedy, even though it's slowed down, I found myself doing a lot of virtual shows, you know, through like April all the way up until August, basically. And then at the same time, outdoor shows started happening. So I started doing outdoor shows in August as well. And then in the midst of all that in July, I got a job because I'm like, comedy ain't paying what it used to pay, and I need some money. Mm-hmm. So I started at one job in July, and then I was like, yeah, let me switch gears a little bit. And plus, when school started, I realized with this hybrid schedule that the kids have, because we're in the middle of a pandemic, I had to make sure I was home, you know, during the day. I'm sorry, it looks like my internet is a little lagged.
There you are, you're back.
I'm back. So it's so weird because you can hear me, but my screen just stopped. And it's so weird. So I switched completely. I switched jobs and I found a new job, and I'm doing overnights. And it is grueling work, but it is all worth it, y'all. I mean, I got benefits day one, you know, So I'm like, that's real important. 401k again, like, mm-hmm. You know, I used to work for Verizon, so I had all that. And then when I left Verizon back in the day, you know, all that ended. And I still had some, which was cool. And I was able to roll over some stuff. I know about IRAs and stuff. I know about all that stuff, rolling over money and stuff. Like, oh, this is nice. And
you're going to have to teach us all a class about that. Another class, because you teach also.
So when I got this new job and I was able to sign up for benefits, I was like, oh, yeah, that okay, I like that. So whole new world. So my schedule is Wednesday through Saturday, 6:15 p.m. All right, so 4:45 a.m. y'all.
Oh God.
Yes. When you said I'm going to work, and I'm like, yesterday I was like, oh my God, like I'm just winding down. Yeah.
Right. But I'm like, it's really cool, and I like the job. So it goes so fast. It's crazy. I look up and I'm like, oh, it's midnight already. All right, not that much longer to go. So yeah, it's all worth it though.
That's nice. Great. Now, LaTice, you're in New Jersey, right?
I am. South Jersey girl, born and raised.
There you go. And a part of the Philadelphia metropolitan area, correct?
I am. I always say I'm Philly adjacent because I'm only 20 minutes from Center City. And that's where I started doing stand-up, in Northeast Philly at the Comedy Cabaret. That was my first open mic.
I love Philly. So I guess I should ask you, because you're probably the expert, best cheesesteak.
That is probably the worst question.
You're gonna make some
that
enemies.
because you're gonna get a different answer from everyone. And to be honest, I don't eat cheesesteaks like that. Okay, so like growing up, I didn't eat like beef or pork. And then as I got older, I started like eating a little bit more. But so I'm not too versed on the best, but I would say, and you'll be surprised, it's not gonna be Pat's, it's not gonna be Geno's. It's a place called Jim's.
Oh my gosh.
That's in Philly.
I have been to gyms, and when I could eat them, and I will completely concur with you. I was gonna
There
say
you go.
gyms. I don't even think about Geno's.
Yeah, yeah.
But wait, Will
But
Smith said that the bag has to be greasy.
yeah. I'm sure the bag is greasy from all of them.
That's so
But
funny.
yeah, it's like the two main ones. Everybody goes head to head between Geno's and Pat's, and I'm like, nah.
I like gyms. I'm with
Yeah.
you.
Yep.
Okay. Well, I know I diverted us into food as I would typically
Listen,
always.
I could talk the whole hour. Trust me. It's not a food. Okay, let's talk about it. I love food.
So, LaTice, tell us when, if you don't mind, like, what was it like growing up? Were you a funny kid? Did you start out
Uh,
knowing you were going to be a comedian?
okay, so I was a funny kid, but I didn't know I was gonna be a comedian. I didn't really know what that was. What I used to do, my brother and I, who 4.5 years younger than me, we used to watch funny things. Like I would tape everything on our VCR. This is when we still had the big VCR where you had to pop it in and pop it down. It looked like a giant cassette tape. That was the first VCR. And so I learned how to record on that, and I would record different things. And just really what's crazy is acting was my first love. Okay, if that even makes sense. Acting was my first love. So I would reenact a lot of things. So we would watch stuff and then recite the lines and do this and that. And then I started getting into watching like comedy. I used to sneak to watch like Benny Hill, and when I was like 12, 13, Saturday Night Live. So that was the whole like start. And I was like watching movies like DC Cab at the age of, 12, 13, reciting all these lines, all these curse words in it. And what was funny was my mom's rule in the house was you can curse as long as it's in the script, right? That was her rule. If you cannot curse outside of anything else except if that's in the movie. And we were like, yeah, okay. So we just reciting all these lines, and Breakfast Club, movies like that, with John Hughes films, all that. Watched all those. So growing up watching Dan Aykroyd and Dr. Detroit, that was one of my favorite movies. And
Wow.
so that's where I guess I started picking up just my humor, my comedy, so to speak. And then in school, it came out, and in 6th grade, I was actually voted girl class clown, and which was cute because the boy that I liked and was like going with at the time, he was boy class clown.
Oh, wow.
So we were like the two. Listen, 5th grade, let me tell y'all about this poem I wrote for 5th grade. So, Valentine's Day comes up, and y'all remember in school, you always had to write something. And my 10-year-old self, my 9-year-old self, 10-year-old self, my poem was, and I was so proud of this because my 5th grade teacher, Mrs. Wallen, she was my favorite teacher of all times. And she's my favorite because I still remember her name.
Remember her?
So my poem was, a horse has a mane, a calf does not. I do not love you, so go take a trot. I was 9 when I wrote that. 9.
Well,
That's
now-
so anti-Valentine.
I was so proud of that.
But nowadays, you could have got a record deal.
I know.
That's right.
I know, right? Hello.
Bars.
That's what I mean. I'm watching all these people. I'm like, hello. I got stuff to talk about too.
Look out, Drake. Look out.
Right. But that's so funny because when I first started in stand-up, that was when the reality TV shows were like just becoming a thing. So 09, January 14th of 09, that was my first open mic, like I said, at the Comedy Cabaret. And my first time when I started writing the material at the end of 2008, my material was really like talking about me a little bit, like growing up and that whole story about my mom letting us curse. and being able to recite different lines. And I quoted one of these parts in the Breakfast Club, and I couldn't believe like people were actually laughing at stuff I had written. So it was like the biggest high I'd ever felt. Like the adrenaline was just there. So I kept going back, and then by I want to say that, so January 14th, in lieu of that, I had decided to sign up for a class at Helium in Center City for it's called their Philadelphia Comedy Academy. So I'd already was like, okay, I'm going to take this class. Let's see what it's about, blah, blah, blah. And I was still going to the mic. Well, in the middle of all that, class started, and then I got asked by the owner of the Comedy Cabaret if I wanted to do a guest spot. And at first I was like, what? Like, I didn't know any of the language. Like, what does that mean? And I thought it was a joke because one of the people who took me to my first mic, she's like, no, yeah, he emailed me. He wants to know if you're, she says, well, I'm going to forward the email and then you can correspond with him. So I was like, yes, I would love to, 5 minutes. Oh my God, I'm super excited, right? It was exactly a month from the time I stepped on stage to when I got my first guest spot. Wow. at the Comedy Cabaret in Doylestown, which is their bigger club, in front of a sold out crowd on Valentine's night. And I'm telling you, the rush was amazing. And I never looked back. So, and I finished the class and everything. I was doing that. And I started going up to New York in like May of '09 and networking and doing mics up there. My first, one of my first mics I did was at Comics, which isn't even there anymore. It was like on 14th Street. And downstairs was Ochi's Lounge. And I met Ed Till. He ran a mic on Sundays, and also the infamous Khalees Hawkins. She had a mic that she ran. And so I would go up and do both and started meeting all these amazing comedians in New York and networking. And then I started doing shows at New York Comedy Club. Broadway was actually my first show with Jeff Lawrence. And wow. I remember the first time I saw the flyer with my face on it, I was like, oh my God, this is a real show. And in fact, Nikki Sunshine was on that show. That's where I first met Nikki Sunshine. It's so crazy how it's like these people that stay in your life for all this time. But yeah, so and she was early in comedy too. So eventually we started working more together because we did Seymour Swan's show. Now I don't know if y'all remember when Seymour Swan had his show at New York Comedy Club. It was the midnight show called Sisters of Comedy.
Yeah.
All Black female comedians. It was amazing. And so it was like Nikki Sunshine, me, Phoebe Robinson, Yamanika Saunders, the Wayne, the
Chantel.
Shantae.
Yeah.
Shantae.
Yeah, Shantae Wayne. Crystal Ward was there. Like, so every week we would do this, and it was such an amazing thing. And to the point where Seymour, I guess probably like 2 years in, he asked me to host. I was the first female to ever host his show. Wow. Because he couldn't make it, so I hosted, and it was amazing. And then when I started doing Jamie Roberts' show that he had there, I remember I hosted his show. I was the first female to ever host his show too. So it was amazing. And when I think about it then, I didn't realize it, but that was so crazy because I was literally like 2 years in doing stand-up, and these people were like, yo, can you host my show? Hell yeah, I can host your show. But I didn't think about it like that, and being like the first woman to do it. So when like all these memories start coming up on Facebook now, you know how they have those memory features, and I'm looking and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I've met some amazing people and got to work with like heavy hitters early. And so I'm very, very appreciative.
That is just an awesome story, man. It just goes to show you that you can do whatever you want, and it wasn't even like you were trying.
No, and that was the crazy thing. So coming out of when I started comedy, I was still doing real estate at the time. So the crazy part is, and the parallel between me knowing that I had to market myself. So from the real estate background, I took that and applied that to my comedy. And I was like, oh, so yeah, I need a business card, like for a stand-up. And I remember like early on, I found my very first comedy card too. And it was so basic, and I laugh at it now, but I thought I was big time. So like after a show, people would be like, oh, so how can I find you? I'd be like, here's my card. They'd be like, oh, okay, you're a professional. I'm like, yep. I was like, and so other comedians who were like, you know, same time as me, like maybe 6 months to a year in, they're like, oh, you have cards already? I'm like, yeah, man, get with the program. Like, how are people gonna find you, dude? Like, you leave a show, that's it. How are they gonna remember you? I knew that already, so I used my marketing skills from real estate and applied it, and it really did pay off. And yeah, so I just kept going up to New York. And I remember when people in Philly saw that I was going to New York, and they were like, what? You're going to New York? And I was like, listen, guys, they're open micers up in New York just like us. There are people starting just like we are. It's just New York. Like, they looked at me like I had 12 heads when I was like, yeah, I'm going up to New York. They were like, you're crazy. And now some of the same people moved up to New York, and they are successful, like Monroe Martin, H. Foley, Derek Gaines, all of them left Philly and in New Jersey and went up to New York, and now look at them. I'm like,
Yeah.
see, y'all thought I was crazy. If I wasn't married and didn't have this family, do you think I'd still be in Jersey? Y'all ain't got the, listen, I would have been in New York 10 years ago.
Oh my gosh.
Wow, it
Awesome.
happened so fast. Wow.
Yeah. Like, I
'Cause-
can't believe, like, it's 11 years now, and
11 years.
it's so crazy. And I just knew that even when everything shut down, at first I was very apprehensive about this, you know, the Zoom shows and the online stuff. And I was like, is it really gonna? And when I started doing it, I was like, oh my God, we need this.
Mhm.
And it was really, really cool just to be able to have something. And a really good friend of mine, Kat Mosley, who ran a mic in Philly at Fergie's, right? So it's at 12th and Broad Street. It's a great place. Food is amazing, by the way. And every Sunday night, that was the mic. So she literally started the virtual mic of Fergie's, and it's grown. They've been doing this for 26 weeks. Tonight will be 26 weeks. So we're celebrating. And the fact that we literally have like over 40 comedians. There's a first half and a second half, and she created this team, and there's hosts, and there's, you know, the host crew, and then there's hecklers, like we're in there talking shit. It's so much fun. And we needed that. We needed that through these 6 months. I mean, think about it, 26 weeks, that's a long time. And I'm like, wow. So you know, I started laughing because I would see some comedians who were like, I'm never doing a Zoom show. I'm like, trust me, it's not as bad as you think. You got it, like, because we have to get that out. The creativity and the thoughts that go through our minds, we have to get that out, or else you feel like you're dying. You really do feel like you're dying if you cannot do comedy in some form or fashion.
It feels like, though, a little bit sort of like, I would imagine, like, for most people, they stand up on stage. This feels like sitting down on stage. You know what I mean? Like, it's very...
I know, it's so different, and that's the thing. But you know what? Some people do actually stand up. Like, I did this show, Jackie Steele's hilarious. She's out in LA, and she's been running a show. And when they asked me to do it, and they got everybody together, and they're like, okay, this is what you do, you know, make sure your background's good, you know, and if you want to stand up, you can. If you want to sit down, that's cool too. And like, I don't know, I just got used to like sitting down. I'm the type of person, you ever see somebody dancing in a chair?
Yeah.
I'm the best chair dancer ever. Like, I bust all my moves in my chair. Like, I just feel like I'm doing everything. So when I do comedy sitting down, I'm like, yeah, I'm still doing it. I see myself walking. I see myself standing. I'm like, in my mind, I'm doing it. But I know for some, it's like that muscle memory where they feel like, okay, if I stand up, it makes it more legit. And I totally get it. But yeah, I just, you know, it's just about adapting, you know.
It's so amazing because when you really think about it, if you can do a Zoom stand-up show, you can launch yourself internationally. You don't you're no longer limited to the location.
That's
You now
right.
can be viewed in other countries.
Mhm.
So I mean, that really opens up careers if you can
Yeah.
do it.
And here's the best part. I feel like even after the pandemic is over, there'll still be a market. There'll still be an avenue for this platform, which is
Mm.
really good because it showed a lot of people what they can do. Because I started up my podcast again because it wasn't running. And I was like, this is what I wanted to do all along, like be on video. I wanted people to be able to see our faces and hear us at the same time. So I was like, I'm taking it right to YouTube. Here we go. Let's do it. And I found StreamYard, and I've been playing around with that, and I love it. So we rebooted Funny Bits, which I love.
That's great. So what? Yet another thing, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah, we used to do it live on Friday Eve. So that's my thing, Friday Eve, which is actually Thursday. But I think Friday Eve just sounds more festive. So I like saying Friday Eve. But now I pre-record on Tuesdays, but I make it to where it still comes out on Friday Eve. So I wanted to keep that and keep that going. So yeah, we have fun.
Cool. Well, it's the Quarantine Call-In Show. We are at the half mark. So if anybody would like to talk to LaTice Mitchell, our special guest tonight, or ask questions, you feel free to, I guess nobody else is in our Zoom room tonight, but feel free to put your comments or questions in the comment section on this Facebook Live post. And we'll open it up now. Thanks.
Kim getting comfortable.
I had to move because I live with other Black people, and they have no respect for Zoom meetings and shows. They just don't care.
They're like, whatever.
They don't. But yo, LaTice, I remember you did something live or whatever, or you were just live and something. It was like your family was having a cookout and y'all was playing cards or something like that.
Where was I?
I don't know where it was, but I was like, all right, this is like a while ago. This is like a couple years. This is right after the Oak City. You headlined Oak City the first year I was there, right?
Yes, we
Okay.
were. That was so much
Same
fun.
day. It was, right? It's right. But so
LaTice, go ahead.
go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was just gonna ask you. Most people that from Philly, they have some connection with Touré and Warm Daddies.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Touré. Let me tell you. So my history with Touré. Right after I started comedy, I met him, and they used to do, him and B Flat used to do a happy hour comedy show at Helium. And I remember I got a guest spot on that, and it was like the biggest thing ever. And I was like, thank you. And then what happened was I actually took a step away from Philly, and I was focusing more on New York for a minute. And when I came back into the city, I saw that him and Keith from Up the Block were doing their Philly Comedy College. And I said, you know what, let me get a refresher. Because here's the thing about stand-up. I feel like you can always grow. And I feel like if you put yourself in front of people who have more experience or just different perspectives, you can always learn something. So I said, I'm going to take this class. And I took the however many weeks it is, 10 weeks, 8 weeks, or whatever it was, and reconnected with him in Philly. And then we had our showcase show at Warm Daddies. And then after that, I started like going regularly, because that was, I want to say 2017, maybe 2016, 2017, I did that refresher. And because I had so let's back up. So 2014, got pregnant. 2015 had the baby, and I had taken off. So it was I'm full disclosure, I am probably one of the most vain people you'll ever know on the low. And as soon as I started showing, I was like, I'm not getting on stage anymore. I was like, I'm out. And so like September 2014, October, I was like, that's it. So I had stopped doing stand-up, and he was born in January. So in March, I remember I ran into a friend of mine in the grocery store, of all places. He was like, oh my God, LaTice, I have a show tonight. He was like, it's a private gig over in Marlton, which is where we live. And he was like, do you want to split the time with me? And, you know, it's X amount of bucks. I'll split it, whatever. And I was like, oh my God, yeah, this will be my first show coming back off of this pregnancy. And he was like, oh, great. So like, it was so crazy because now I was off from, you know, September to basically March. And it felt like I hadn't skipped a beat. Like I didn't remember some of my stuff, but it was like coming back. And the crowd was amazing. I had so much fun, and I was like, yes, I'm back. So that was, yeah, March of 2015. And then so I slowly started coming back, and then I think I signed up for his class probably it might even, no, it had to have been a little bit later. But anyway, when I got back into the Philly scene, it was amazing. And I started working at Helium, and then Punchline came out. And so I remember doing like, they were doing a benefit show, like a soft open before it was like really, really open. And I just remember walking in there and I was like, yo, this is amazing. I love this place. Because it was totally different from what we were used to, because Helium is the main club. That's the A club in Philly. Everybody knows Helium, and now they have all these different locations, but Philly was the first. And so now they have like St. Louis, they have Portland, they have Buffalo, all over, which is great. And when I walked in Punchline, I was like, oh my God, this is totally different. It's like a whole different industrial warehouse feel, and it's huge inside. So the first thing that people were talking about was how the sound was. Because as comedians, we want to hear the laughter, right? So we're like, oh, say something. Was it funny? Right? And so it was hard to hear, apparently. So they put up these walls or whatever, the curtains, the big curtains, to block out the sound for us, because if people weren't taking up the entire room, the entire space, then it hindered the sound. So they figured out that, okay, depending on the crowd, this is where we can divide it and put everybody here, and still they could open it up if they needed to, which like changed it tremendously. And so yeah, when I started getting booked there, I was booked on the all-woman showcase, which was so much. I'm like, these women, listen, we kill it every time. I don't care what nobody says. Women are hilarious. And so when they started to showcase us, this was a good step. And yeah, and so I started hosting there, and then I was like featuring on the showcase, and then I got the headline a showcase, and then I became a regular, like for the weekend, started getting the, you know, the 5-night bookings and all that good stuff. So yeah, I love it. So those are our main 2 clubs. And then there's like outside of Philly, where you can get like, you know, other gigs like firehouses, or, you know, private stuff, or VFWs, and gigs like that. So yeah, and people always ask me like, so do you have a manager? Do you have an agent? Like, how do you get your book? I'm like, literally, no, I have no representation. People hit me up. They'll message me. They'll call me. Hey, are you available this date? And I take out my little book and I'm like, let me see. And if I'm available, I got you. And that's how it goes. People just like, they reach out to me, and if I can do it, I do it.
That's awesome. I know a lot of people do feel like very strongly about having representation, but a person like you could do it yourself, you know.
I know, but it's so weird because yeah, we all can do it ourselves. But I think a couple of years ago, I got into this headspace where I was like, why doesn't anyone want to represent me? You know what I mean? Like, I got into this thing where I was like, I want somebody who's gonna, you know, work for me and push me and get me into places that I can't get into. And then I was just like, you know what? Let me stop focusing on that, because everyone I would talk to would say, when you're ready and when they're looking, then they'll just approach you. You can't go seeking them, because they'll be like, well, who are you? And I'll be like, but that's what bothers me about show business. It's like, why you wait until I blow up, then you want to represent me? Like, now you're trying to jump on the coattail, so to speak. Like, I want somebody who's there at ground zero, and like, we build together. That's what I feel like a manager's relationship should be. Like, we should know each other. We should be friends. We should, you know, be close enough to where, okay, I'm going to help you. I'm going to grow with you. But this business is a little backwards, and that's the part of it that I don't like. So yeah, I'm like, we need to fix this somehow. I don't know how we're gonna fix it, but we need to fix it.
The thing is, your manager yourself got you in as a guest into, you know, like really fast. So a month,
Yeah.
right? A month. So, I mean, I don't know. I feel like it's same thing in music business. I had a manager, but at some point when in your career, you know that you have to leave that manager to have a bigger manager. So it's kind of like that anyway. So you're doing all the hard work right now.
Yeah, yeah, all the hard work, I suppose. I mean, you know, it is what it is. I just, you know, I'm going to keep doing what I do, and then we'll see.
That's it. You're doing pretty good. I
Thank
wanted to ask you some questions
Yeah.
about Stand Up 101 and Stand
Okay.
Up 201. Like
Uh-huh.
you're teaching stand up right now, right?
I do. And so here's what's so funny, and that fell into my lap too. But ironically, growing up, I always said I wanted to be a teacher, which was really so being able to actually teach something I absolutely love, I just came full circle for me, but it kind of fell into my lap, and I was very honored and surprised when I was approached by FIT, which is the Philly Improv Theater, which is right across the street from Helium in Center City. And the gentleman who runs it, I knew him when I was doing improv, and I used to take improv, and he was in like a smaller theater called the Shubin in Philly, and it was like this rundown place, but we loved it. So yeah, so when he emailed me, I was like, what? You want me to what? And so I started teaching 101. Like it's been over 2 years now since I've been doing that. And then we added 201 to the curriculum. And the funny thing is, and I'm like, I'm writing curriculums up. Like, what is this? Like, I'm like, okay. So yeah, so the 101 is, I mean, it's very basic. But my key rule is like, I do not teach people how to be funny. Legitimately, these people come in already with a great sense of humor. Some of them with comedy background, some with no background. Some people have jobs where they have to get in front of people to speak, and they want to be able to get over that nervousness, which is a great way to do that, by the way. Taking a comedy class will definitely help you get out of the fear of public speaking. So yeah, but the 101, you know, it's basic. It's literally teaching them what I like to do in my classes, teach structure and show them that everything has to have a beginning, a middle, and an end. And where I learned that was another workshop years ago when I was first started. I took a workshop with Frank Santapadre, who is, I don't know if you guys know him or not, but he is a ghostwriter for several comedians to this day. And he actually works with Joy Behar closely on The View and writes some of her stuff that she does daily, at least back then. And so I took this workshop, and he helped Chris Rock actually on one of his very first specials. I think it was Bigger and Blacker. And what really stuck with me was how he said our sets have to have an arc, right? So you have your opener, and you know, boom, that lets people know who you are, and that middle, you know, giving them all the meat and everything, and your closer, there has to be a climax. So I literally teach that because I've been able to apply it. You know, being able to work and do comedy helps me teach it. And plus, I genuinely like people. I generally really like the different backgrounds and the stories that people have when they come into the class. And and then getting, like, there's nothing like getting an email from a student saying how much they loved my class and that I helped them, and it's very rewarding. Like, I'm tearing up right now. Now y'all got me getting all sentimental and emotional, but I'm a big softie too. So but yeah, I love that. So being able to help people, really, it makes me feel good. Yeah.
No doubt.
That's
Thank
what's
you.
up.
Yeah, that's what it's about.
Yeah. So 201. Oh, let me just say that 201 is then just adding to the 101. So in the 101, we focus on getting that first tight 5. And then the 201 focuses on building that. So by the end of 201, they should have at least a 10-minute set, a full 10-minute set where they can perform it from beginning to end. And I just really just focus more on who they want to be, what's your brand or persona, like, you know, what's your message, really. That's what I focus on in 201. And 101 is the basics, like the 6 types of jokes, and we break all that down, you know, the setup punch or the rule of 3, and you know, the comparison. And it's funny because sometimes what happens is people tend to write that way, but they don't really know that's what it's called. You know what I mean? Like, you're doing that already, but you didn't really know it was a thing. And then when I break it down, and they're like, oh yeah, okay. So, and then I just have them like work on their sets. So from week to week, they're building and they're growing their sets, and they're adding more and more to it. And that's basically what it is. And I absolutely love it.
Are you doing it virtually?
Yeah, that's
We're doing it virtually now. Yeah. So we switched over to virtual. So towards the beginning of the summer, I finished the classes that I had, 101 and 201, and they did their performances virtually. And then now we're getting ready for the fall. So and so I'm with Fit. Yeah, and then I'm with a new school too, called Off Mic Comedy, right? So this is, I mean, they've been so amazing with all this press. They got us, I was in like a print ad. My article was like online, and it was in their paper, the Metro, and talking about, you know, the classes, and they've been just like promoting it like crazy, and I'm super excited. So we're gearing up for that. I'm teaching a Monday night class from 7 to 9. It's a 201. So if anyone is interested, sign up. I have about 2 or 3 people already.
Take Laura into your class.
Hey, you guys, thank you.
My coach here, she's pushing me.
Awesome.
Very lucky to have a mentor like Kim and Tim. Sure. So I'm going to be your new student, I think.
Yay.
Yes.
Great.
Thank you.
All right. So
and
and
I need a few jokes tagged, so I'm
like, I know you need tags for your jokes. Yeah. So what, like you were saying before, with this virtual world, people from anywhere can do this. That's the best part about it. So like, you could be in California, you could be in Germany and take this virtual 201 class, and it'd be amazing.
So all of our viewers, who's ever watching, we can do this. So let's sign up. We'll be in the same class with LaTice Mitchell.
Yes, Off Mic Comedy School. Check it out. It's on Facebook, all over the place, and their website is the same.
Awesome.
That's what's up.
Thank you.
This worked out so perfectly. Look at
that. Look at God. Look at God.
For real.
Won't he do it?
Yeah. All the
time. You know it. So funny. Can we get everything together for next week? No, just kidding. I'm working.
Oh gosh, that's so funny.
That's cool. So I know you kind of talked about the different kinds of writing and the way you write jokes, but what is your process?
My process is so weird. I don't know if I say it's weird because I don't have the traditional, like, okay, let me sit down at my desk, I'm going to write for an hour. It just never happens like that for me. I'm literally when I'm doing other things, that's when thoughts come into my mind. And then I'm like, oh, that could be funny. Let me jot that down. And then I'll come back to it. And that's really how I started to like build sets. Like, stuff just pops into my head, and I'm like, oh, that would be funny. Like, I'm that type of person that before a competition, I will do a new joke because I know it's going to be funny. And my friend, I had a friend, Jess, who would be like, I hate you. I know you just thought of that shit and it worked. And I'm like, cuz I just felt like it was going to work. Like, sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. But if it strikes me, then I'm like, all right, it'll work. But yeah, I don't have a real like process like that. So I found, it was really funny. I was cleaning up my closet a while ago, and I found like my very first sets of when I started at the Comedy Cabaret. And here was the deal at the Comedy Cabaret. Like, so what I was what they called a seater. So I would literally work for my stage time, and then I would get my 5 minutes on stage. That's what it was at first.
Wow.
And then it was like, then you would graduate to like host. But very early on, so I was the seater, and then I would get on stage and I'd be like, y'all thought I worked here, huh? Okay, well, I do, but for the comedy club. And then I'd be like, and then I go into my sets. But I found, because what I used to do is I used to write it out longhand, and then I would type it in Word, and I would block, each joke would be like about a paragraph long. And so 5 minute set, ideally, you don't want to go over, obviously, 5 minutes, and you feel like, okay, if I talk, like a paragraph is usually like maybe 30 seconds to a minute. That's how I get people to gauge their time. And that's one of the other things that I stress in 101 for sure, but is time management, because you have to be aware of your time. You don't want to be that comedian that goes over the light. You just don't, because I learned from experience that is not the rep you want. So and if you're in a club, they frown upon that, because they're like, everything has to be in order. So so along with, like, when I teach, I'm like, when you go home, time yourself, like talk how you would normally talk, and set your timer and see how long you are, and that way you can work backwards. So that's another trick for comedians, is see what you're saying and then write it all out, because if you see it, you write it out, you're like, then you realize, I don't need all of these words to get from point A to point B. That's another thing we call cutting the fat or trimming the fat, is that you'll be surprised you don't need all the words you say. And I used to be so caught up. So when I typed it out, I would have to say, like, it was literally me memorizing lines. So remember, I told you acting was my first love. So I used that, and I would memorize it that way. And then I would get consumed, though, with every and, every but. And if I missed a word, then I would be like, oh my God. So I had to get out of that. But that kind of helped me at first, to get the structure of the joke. But once you write a joke, you know how you're beginning it and what's funny, and the punchline, you're good. You can say it however you need to where you finally tweak it to where you get it, and you'll say it that same way every single time, and you know it's going to hit. And there's a process to that too, but that process is really just getting up on stage and doing it. You can't practice that at home. You need your interaction in front of the live audience. So what I've been able to do over the years is I'm more of a like conversational style, and that wasn't actually self-proclaimed. That somebody watched me and wrote a bio for me, and when she said that, I was like, wow, okay, conversational style. So like when I get on stage, it's like I'm literally standing in my living room talking to people in my home. That's what it like. I bring people in. So I use that a lot. And I like being able to do that. I like talking to people, because you get some of your funniest stuff from what the audience will say to you when they answer a question. I don't know what it is, but some people in comedy shows, it's like a truth serum. They will say exactly, and I'm like, wow, okay, you want to talk about that? Okay. Like, I kid you not, at Punchline, this was last Sunday, did we finally, because this show was postponed from Thursday, we got rained out, they were like, storm's coming, let's move it to Sunday. Great. Sunday, so we're in the bigger outdoor space, and I was headlining this show. I get up, I kid you not, I'm talking to this young lady, and actually I was watching, so a previous comedian had already she revealed that she was a squirter. So I remembered that, right? But I didn't know exactly who it was. So when I got up in the middle of my set, I'm like, oh, okay. So I'm talking to a few people, and I said, oh, where's the squirter? And she was like, right here. And I was like, oh, okay. How are you? Right? Found out it was her birthday on top of that. I said, okay, so you're just showing off now, right? It's your birthday and you're a squirter? Okay. And everybody's laughing and everything. And but people will reveal the most craziest things, and I just talk to people, and I go right off of that. So whatever they say, I'm taking it and running with it.
That's
Tim
awesome.
waiting for you to reveal her name.
I know.
Me either. I'm like,
Tim is like, let me look her up.
LaTice, let me ask you something. This is like my favorite thing to hear because I'm just hella nosy. But I love to hear road stories. So what's your wildest road story?
Oh man, there's so many. Like, okay, well, I had like a personal road story. I didn't have like I've been in the car with other comedians, which is great. But I told this story in actually a storytelling show once. And it was like in this show where the format was, is this a true story or is it a lie? And I'll let y'all be the judge of it. So I had a show in the Bronx, and I want to say had to have been maybe early 2012. No, it was cold. So I don't know. It might've been 2011, 2012, doesn't matter. But I remember Crystal Ward was there. Leanne Lord was on the show. And Dave Lester was there, and we had a phenomenal show at this place in the Bronx. I can't even remember where it was, but I was just like super excited because Leanne Lord was there, and I had recognized Dave, but it didn't click to me until after his set that he was the dude that I remember seeing from You Got Jokes or whatever that he didn't do so well. And it was like, it followed him for a little bit, but I love Dave Lester. So I was just like, I was still starstruck because I was like, oh my God, you're that guy. And he was like, yeah. But Dave, he took it with a grain of salt, and he was like, yeah, and I'm still doing comedy, and it didn't kill me, and so I was like, I know that's right. So like we were in this back room eating chicken and stuff, and we were talking. I was talking real quick, but anyway, so when I left that show, I got in my car. Now I'm in South Jersey, mind you, so I drive. Listen, driving is nothing to me. Like I told you, I started going up to New York, no problem. I could get there in an hour and a half. I'm good. Up the turnpike, boom. So, but that was my first time in the Bronx. And when I went back over the Cross Bronx Highway, I don't know if that's what it's called, but we all of a sudden come to a standstill. There's a lot of construction, okay? And minutes before that, I told myself, I said, you know what? You should have went to the bathroom before you left the place. So I'm like, all right, I should be okay. I'll make it. I'll get to the turnpike and be able to stop at the rest stop, because I was assuming that the traffic was going to keep going. Traffic did not. It stopped. And all of a sudden, I'm like, I really have to pee. I really have to pee. You ever had to pee so bad, like you start feeling it up in your teeth? It comes up. It comes up through your, like, it's a real thing. And so I'm doing the dance in my seat, and we're not moving. Traffic is not moving. So I'm like, this is not good. So I had like tractor trailers surrounding me. Like, we're just sitting, no movement. I was like, you know what? So I looked around in my car, saw a plastic bag. I was like, then came the debate. Are you really going to pee in that plastic bag? I'm talking to myself like, you should pee in that bag. You're going to have to pee in that bag. No, I'm not peeing in that bag. Not going to pee in that bag. You're going to have to pee in this bag. I grabbed the bag. I was like, okay, I'm going to pee in this bag. So then the dilemma was, how am I getting my jeans off of me? How am I getting my jeans down? I'm still in my driver's seat. I wasn't going to get out of my car to then undo my pants. So I'm literally in my driver's seat. So like you can imagine, I inch up, undo, take them down to like the middle of my thigh. Now, remember there's truck. I said, I don't even care if these trucks are anything that's happening right now. I do not care. So I got the plastic bag situated it just right. And let me tell you, it was a success. I peed in a plastic ShopRite bag. Yes, I did.
You're a savage. You are a savage.
What was that? You had to think of like the whole mechanics, like how I'm gonna hold it right here. I'm gonna slide up.
Thankfully, it was a bag though, because a plastic bag is big enough. I literally was like, okay, let me position it. I don't even know how I did it. Trust me.
But did you have to levitate a little bit, because otherwise you're sitting in it, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Did you put your car in park?
You know what? Maybe you should give a class on that. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Maybe
I need to, because I'm telling you,
101.
let me tell y'all, this was in my Mitsubishi Galant ES. Okay, this was the car, all right, and it had, you remember those the soft seats, right? So if I had peed anywhere, that shit would soak in. Couldn't let that happen. It wasn't like leather, how you could just wipe that shit down. This was my car. This was a 98 Mitsubishi Galant that I got in 2000. And now we talking, it's 12 years old, 13 years old. This is my favorite. This is my car. And it was a 5-speed. So, you know, I was doing it. So anyway, I did it. And then I couldn't believe that I did it. I was like, oh my God, I did it. Right. So I grabbed the bag, closed it up, locked it up, put it behind me in my backseat, just sat there. But then I was like, now my pants are down and I can't get my pants back up. And at that point I didn't care. I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna drive on the turnpike with my ass out. That's all.
Oh shit.
I drove all the way home
Oh,
with my
shit.
jeans halfway down my thighs. And so when I got to my house, now I'm like, okay, now I gotta get out of the car. So I finally, you know, the car stopped. I can get out a little. I pulled him up a little bit, but then got out of my car and was like, let me pull him up all the way. Went to the back, grabbed the bag, and put it in the recycle bin, which is in our little utility closet in the front. So fast forward, I go to sleep. It's late. It's like 3 o'clock in the morning. When I woke up the next morning, my husband's like, oh, yeah, I saw you put something in the recycle bin. I was like, oh, yeah, it was just my bag of pee that I had from the car. He's like, I said, don't ask. But when I got home, right, and I got in, I literally made a Facebook post. I said, and I didn't say I did or I didn't. I literally posted, I said, if I told you I peed in a plastic bag tonight, would you believe me? And the responses were hilarious. I never said I did. I never said I didn't. And I just wanted to see if people would believe that I did. And it was hilarious. But yes, that is probably one of the most memorable road stories that I ever had.
LaTice, you've got some skills.
LaTice, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Okay. You're having a comedy show and you can book 5 comedians, dead or alive. Who are they?
Oh my gosh. Okay, so number 1 is Whoopi Goldberg. Okay. And you know, I love Whoopi. I have a special bond with Whoopi because after my appearance on The View, you know, she came out of the like the little room that they watched the show in, came out and like literally grabbed my shoulder and was like, girl, you are funny. I was like, Whoopi Goldberg, right? So I had like, people were taking pictures and everything, and she's talking to me and she was trying to like literally ask me about one of my jokes. She was trying to recite my cul-de-sac joke back to me, and I was like, oh my God, like this is amazing. And she invited me back to her dressing room afterwards. So I was like, yo, this is like a dream come true. So so Whoopi Goldberg first and foremost. Then of course, I mean, come on, Wanda Sykes. So we're at 2. So then of course Richard Pryor.
Okay.
Let's get Richard. And I also, because I miss him so much, I would say Bernie Mac.
Yeah, okay.
And so that's 4. And 5 would be surprisingly, this is a tough one. But it's someone that you guys obviously will probably all know. It's not Chris Rock, but his brother Tony Rock.
Okay.
Wow.
I love Tony. Yeah. So yeah, that would be I mean, there's so many that
Yeah,
you
of course,
really,
yeah.
I mean, if I could interchange and like, it could be, if it was a monthly series that I was able to do and rotate the 5 out, trust me, the lineup would be fire every time.
Man.
I'm shocked that you didn't say Dave.
I know.
I
Dave
know.
Chappelle.
I was thinking Dave.
Yeah.
I love him too. That's what I'm saying. It's so hard. It's hard. But when you say dead or alive, you got to get some of the dead people in.
That's
Everybody
true.
knows Chappelle, so come on.
Right.
I think, you know, we give like a little, you know, insight. And then even George Carlin, I miss him. Like, and I didn't appreciate Carlin because I was younger. But now watching his old stuff now, I'm like, yo, he was so brilliant, so brilliant.
Oh
So
yeah,
I mean, there's too many to name.
Wow.
true, true. He said he spent from 9 in the morning till like later, like 3 or 4, whatever in the afternoon. He treated it like a job, and he would write for all day and then go out
Wow.
that night.
Well, that
Wow.
shows for sure. That definitely shows. I mean, there's a lot of time that we had during this pandemic, and I'm like, yeah, I have some shit to talk about. I'm going, and really, but you could tell like how much time he took
Oh
and
yeah,
wrote because he literally, I mean, he could talk for 2 hours
yeah.
on stage. And that's when, that was the thing to do. I think now we're just so like instant gratification. This whole environment, social media has changed the look of comedy, and we feel like we have to like be so quick, hit it, quit it. You know what I mean? Like, all right, boom, I'm gonna hit you with this and then I'm out. Like, all right, but you when you watch Carlin and even like Joan Rivers and Phyllis Diller, like think about all of them, like they could just get on stage and just talk. And all of it wasn't always funny. It was them getting to that funny part and then like exploding. But and it's changed a lot, but it helps you appreciate, what we do and what goes into it, to be honest.
I like it that you have mentioned a lot of female comics.
Yes, yes.
That's very nice.
Yeah, women are so important. And it's crazy that we still have to fight though. We still have to fight. Even in the middle of this pandemic and then like stuff starting to slowly come back, you still see like, it's still white male heavy. And I'm just like, dude, like it's a wrap on that. Like I'm not interested in hearing another white man's perspective. I'm just not at this time. I'm just not. I'm sorry. And but I'm not sorry. So um, you know, I early on, like I didn't understand a lot of it, but I knew like women needed a platform. I had started, and that's how I started Funny Bits. Funny Bits was a show that I used to do, a monthly show that I did in Jersey at this place called the Whitman. And it was this cool, okay, so it's literally a diner, but on the other side, it was like this cool lounge and bar area. And I was like, I want my show in here. And I was so new to comedy. I didn't understand like setting a budget and making sure that I get paid for, you know what I mean? For what I do. Like it was a free show, but I still should have like talked to the owners more and did that. But it's like you do things, you learn, and then you grow from that. So but yeah, early on I was like, so I would host it and I would just ask people to come, and it would be like just comedians that I liked hanging out with that I knew from just meeting them and be like, hey, you want to do my show? It was a Thursday, and that was the thing. And I started getting these flyers made and getting them made so they would be small enough they put them on the tables. And I'm like, I have my own, I still have it to this day, my own system. I got a wireless mic system because they had the speakers inside, so all I had to do was plug into their system and it would pipe through the whole place. I was like, oh my god, I love this. Have my own mic stand and everything. So like I love that. And I did that show for 2 years. I even we did like fundraisers for like Toys for Tots. We would have people come and bring toys on, through December when we do our monthly show. And yeah, so I always liked hosting. That's what I did for the longest time. And then I was like, yo, I have more material. I want to say more. I want to move up. And it was 2 clubs that moved me up that I was working in from a host to a feature. I'll never forget Sarcasm, which was in Cherry Hill. They used to be in the Crown Plaza right off of Route 70. And the Comedy Cove up in Springfield, New Jersey. Love that club too. It's right over top of Scotty's Steakhouse. And yeah, I was hosting, and then all of a sudden they were like, you're ready. And I was like, yes, I am. And so I got moved to feature. It was the most exciting time. So I was like, yes. And I'll never forget, I was fighting. Like I kept asking, I don't know if y'all know Susie from Catch a Rising Star. And I kept saying, because I was hosting there too regularly. And I was like, Susie, I really want to move to feature. Do you know she would not move me to feature spot? And then because I voiced my opinion about it, she literally blackballed me from her club.
Wow.
Just because I knew I was ready. She just didn't want to move me. And I was like, 2 other clubs have already moved me up. What is the problem? Well, I like you as host. I want you to stay. So I was like, you're literally like pigeonholing me. Like, this is not, and got blackballed from Catch a Rising Star. And I was like, that's cool. I kept it moving. And it was so funny because things like that would happen. And once I let it go, other things opened up. And I think literally right after that, that's when I got The View. That's when I got, other things. And I was like, it was in the back of my mind at that point. And I never talked about it. I talk about it now because it's so long ago, but I never talked about it then. I would never say anything bad about her, never said anything bad about the club. And don't you know, that club like has deteriorated for years and years now, where they're literally trying to pay comedians $35 to do like a feature set. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, there's no pay. I'm like, nah, I'm glad I left. I'm glad she kicked me out.
See, that's why our show is
There
so
was a
good.
reason
All
for
the
it.
dirt.
Thoughts and prayers.
Right, you heard it here first on our show.
For Mystery Guards, okay, because I am not working for 35. I remember somebody telling me, you'll come to a point in time where you will not leave your house for X amount of dollars. You'll have to start to set those boundaries. And it's true, it starts to happen. And when you know your worth and you're like, listen, I see what you're doing and I don't like that. No, I can't do that, and it helps a lot. And it's just funny because you know what they say though, any job that you turn down, another comedian will do it for less money. So you're like, what are we fighting for? Come on, we all got to band together. It'll never be a collective, but you stand your own ground. It's good for you.
We need a union.
We do, and that's what I mean. Like, it would never work. It just wouldn't. I wish it would. I don't know how we would unionize. I don't know what that would look like. But yeah, I've said that, and I've had conversations with other comedians. I'm like, that would be dope. Like, I come from a union background. When I worked in the casinos, I was in Local 54. Like, I know all that. At one point, I was even a rep for my department. So like all of that, like I'm so familiar with all that. I would be on the front lines. If we could do it, I would be right there like, yes, we need this, we need that, we need suitable green rooms, we need green M&Ms, we need, get that Avion water, you know what I mean? Like, but yeah, it's crazy.
So I have a question for you.
Yeah.
You said you had an acting background. You ever think about going back to that? Is that the next progression for you?
I would love to. Like, if I could combine everything. What's interesting is when I started doing stand-up, it actually opened acting back up for me, because I wasn't in it for a long time, and then I went back to like community theater, started doing different things. So yeah, like in 2011 and 2012, I was doing like different plays locally. And but then I started like going back out for like castings and things like that. And I got to do a few things. And now, I'm doing sketch work and I'm writing my own stuff. I have a web series that I need to put out. And I'm like collaborating on a few other writing projects. So I'm excited about that. So yeah, it's all, I want to do it all. Like when I see Kevin Hart, that's the career that I want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I see Kevin Hart, I feel exhausted.
Right. I'm gonna be in shape too. I'm gonna run in every city that I headline, like start a marathon, all that. But no, his career, like comedy, you got the comedic acting, all of that. But I can be serious too. I can do a serious monologue if I need to.
Yeah.
You've been in movies. You've been in some movies, right?
I have been, yeah, a couple. Not small parts. There's nothing major.
That's
I've
okay.
been
I
in
think
a
we talked to
few.
a guy who did all the backs for somebody, for Cedric or something, and
Yeah.
that was his
Hank.
billing in the
Yeah.
movie. Hank Denson did that, right?
Right. Yeah, I've been in a couple movies, but all like background work. When I mentioned Ed Till, that's how I met Todd Montesi. We were in Ed Till had this pilot called Todd, and we were in it together, and we filmed it in New York. It was so crazy. I was like one of the operators or something at this call center, and it was so wild. But yeah, we did that. I don't even know what happened to that project. And yeah, I've been in a lot of stuff. I have stuff online now. I was doing this series called For Starters, and there's a couple episodes of It's So Wild. That was a few years back. And let me see. Movies. Nothing major. Like, and then I
Whatever
got
It Takes, is that one?
listen, that is major. I'm sorry, Sean Cornelius. Please forgive me. Whatever it takes. Yes, when blood runs cold. Yeah, I play Lala in the movie. It's a small part, but I had so much fun. He has like an amazing crew. Like, it's a mixture of like comedians and actors all in this film, and the way they put this together was amazing. And it's been picked up. It's like in the film festival, one of the film festivals he just announced, which is amazing. But I don't even know if you see me or not. I don't know. I don't know if I think one of my scenes ended up on the cutting room floor, and then I think the other one stayed. So I haven't seen the film. I missed the premiere because I ended up having a comedy show the same night of the premiere back in January. So yeah, so I have not seen the film yet. But he's amazing. So Sean and his partner wrote the movie together, and they star in it together. They're both detectives, police detectives, and cops. And yeah, and it's amazing. I'm like, listen, I'll do pretty much anybody asks me to do something. I'm like, yeah, I'll be there. Whatever you need.
That's
Awesome.
what's up.
Thank you.
Thanks, LaTice. This is so great.
Oh, look, it's like quarter after. Listen, y'all talk to me. I'll be here for a long time. I gotta go cook dinner and shit. I forgot I got a whole family downstairs that needs to eat.
It's so cool to have you, though. I'm so grateful that you came.
You're welcome. Thanks
Please
for
come back
having me.
anytime.
Good to
And
see your faces.
yeah,
Yes.
and I'm not kidding. I'm going to be bothering you for class. So
No, listen, sign up. It's no bother. Please, we'll have some fun.
We
Get her
will.
ready for the 18th, LaTice, okay, of
Yeah.
this month, okay?
I got something to do.
Yeah.
That's right. Let us not forget that next Friday, September 18th, we do have a show at JJ's Tavern, outdoors in the parking lot in Florence,
Yes.
Massachusetts, with
Look
Timothy
at
Lovett,
y'all.
Kim DeShields, Christine Blinn, and the one and only recent guest of ours, Damon Williams.
Yes. Oh, Damon, y'all got Damon coming
Yes.
up.
Do we still have tickets available?
Yeah, tickets are, you got to get them quick because they going quick.
Yeah, they're going to be gone.
I got like
They're gonna
maybe
be
two more
gone.
tables.
I wish
left.
I could. Now my Friday nights are no longer open.
Oh, well, you know, you could come here anytime.
Just think of me. I'll be lifting heavy things and putting them
Oh.
in boxes.
Oh my gosh.
When all this
Never
is over,
ends.
we would love to have you come out.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
come, yeah.
Listen, it's not even a thing. I will drive up next month if you want me to. Listen,
Booked. We just have to
pandemic or
figure
no
out how to do
pandemic.
it.
All
We
right,
just have to figure out how to do it
this
in the
is New
cold.
England. Bring your
Yeah.
snow coat.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bring your snowsuit. You know what I'm
Let me
saying?
get ready. I got the gear. I got the
Your
gear.
moon boots.
I got my boots too. I'm ready. I'm ready. I'll be the snow bunny.
Awesome.
You know.
All right, you guys are amazing.
Tim, you got
Thank
anything?
Mad love.
Yeah. I just want to thank you for doing the show. You know what I'm saying? It was like I know you talked about all female comedy and all that. So I was like trying to sit in the background, like
Love you too.
Should I even be
Me
here?
too.
But
Love you too. I mean, come on, we love you.
I just want to thank you for coming out. And
Thank you.
And when I did see you at Oak City Comedy Festival, I was very impressed. I thought you were very funny, very poised. You have a smooth tone. You know, it's like it's like your voice is like a funny cup of coffee. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, I like that. I like that. Black with a little bit of cream and sugar.
If you knew how Tim felt about his coffee, you would know that's a very big thing. That's a big
Hell
thing.
yeah. No, listen, when somebody compares
and
you
she
to
can
coffee,
ball.
that's big.
She can
What'd I
ball.
do?
She can ball too.
Oh, yep, I can. I
Oh,
got
okay.
some skills. Yep.
All right, everyone. Well, thank you very much, LaTice Mitchell. It's the Quarantine Call-In Show. Remember our show next Friday night, live outdoors. And don't forget about next Sunday night. What is that? September 19th?
Oh, 20th?
20th.
September 20th. We got special guest, Jackie Monahan. Good
Ooh.
night.
Good
Thank
night.
you.
Good night.
Any U.S. citizen returning to the United States will be subject to up to 14 days of mandatory quarantine.
Okay. We got that vaccine, third eye clean, we Visine. Dancing off the top rope, we Dougie off them high beams. Running hard like track meets, debutantes in back seats. Niacin for clear peas, my piss test for 5. Double parks on planet Mars, they surf the net, we surf the stars. Quarantine in Zanzibar, breathing on the masses. Paper like Onan.